5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Good evening, everybody. It is Friday, February 7th, and it is once again time for a little Culture Clash live here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We're back, and we got an interesting show tonight because we're doing a little Save From Oblivion, or do we save it? We are talking about Jupiter Ascending tonight, along with all, of course, the great news in fandom and some buy it, stream it, earn, see it. I will learn to talk, and some great reviews. But you know what? If I'm going to be traveling to other planets, and especially Jupiter, because they've got big gassy and a lot of volcanoes and everything like that, I need some crew, and I think they've been spliced together with the right mammal DNA for this podcast. I'm going to start first and foremost. I know he's been spliced with Raiderness. He is the Raider nerd, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
What's going on? I got the 3D version right here, so I'm in 3D, right? Do you need the glasses? I can't tell, but yeah, right here. More on this later.
Just move it back and forth, Kevin.
What's going on? I'm excited to talk about this and stuff.
This is going to be an interesting conversation tonight. There's a lot of different thoughts people have about this movie, but she's spliced with some otter, I believe it is. So I just want to bring into the podcast.
I'm sorry, what?
She is spliced with some otter.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Definitely.
And so I just figured I should bring in the podcast, the Queen of Otterfoo, Miss Lady Otterpants.
For the listeners, do you want to explain what's going on?
I am wearing my favorite new fuzzy hat. It's from the Tennessee Aquarium, Chattanooga Aquarium. Alex, who is an oftentimes contributor to the podcast, to the network, gave it to me for Christmas. I have one and his wife has one, and we love them because they have it's like a little hat, and it's got the pieces that hang down so that you can put your hands in the bottom of the scarf, and it's adorable and ridiculous, and I love it.
I have actually been to that Chattanooga, Tennessee Aquarium, and it is a very, very good one. I was impressed by it.
Nice.
My GI Joe group went there when we went to the last GI Joe Con in 2017, I think it was.
Right on.
It was a good trip. Yeah.
Well, there we go. So we're all spliced up here. We've got our animal mix. I'm joined by, of course, my ever-loving sidekick, Stripesy, one half of the Wonder Kittens over here. But guys, you are watching the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, and this is Culture Clash, the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network. And like I said, it is time for a little Fandom Oblivion with Jupiter Ascending, a movie that people have many different thoughts on.
Should we remind people what what this is regarding Oblivion and why we're doing it?
You have an excellent point, Mr. Reitzel. So what Fandom Oblivion is we seek out the movies that people have either kind of forgotten about or just, seem to have kind of gone into the ether here, and we bring them back and we look at them, and do we save them from oblivion or do we let them go adrift into oblivion? And we've saved a few. We've probably saved more than we let drift, but there's been a few around here that we've left drifted off to. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to join in the chat on this, because like I said, this is going to be one of the more interesting films I think we've done for Fandom Oblivion in a while.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But before we get into all of that, we got some things happening here around the Fandom Podcast Network. So let's talk about what's coming soon and just arrived. And if you joined us for the last episode of Culture Clash, we were joined by the great John Mosby as we talked about our favorites of 2024, from Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune 2, 2024 being the year of Sheridan by Kevin's standards.
Tyler Sheridan, hell yeah, it was.
And probably the thing a lot of people agree on was one of the best things in fandom all year, and that was the Penguin.
When's that coming out on physical medium, Lacey? We need to find that out.
I don't know, but I would really like that because I loved the Batman. I have not watched the Penguin yet. But
Phenomenal.
I love Christine Milioti. I love Colin Farrell, and everybody. They did so well in the film. I'm really excited to see how the series stands up. So,
and of course, before we did our 2024 best of, we covered everything that was Star Wars Skeleton Crew on Culture Clash Live. And of course, too, recently out for the Union Federation podcast, we came back after a little hiatus where we discussed the Section 31 movie in one of the more interesting discussions on Union Federation and maybe its entire existence.
A movie I will not be seeking out on physical media.
Where does it fit in within the Star Trek? Where in the timeline? Like where does it fit?
Yeah, that's one of the questions. That's one of the questions that's out there,
okay.
Lacey.
Just prior to about 20, 30 years before Next Generation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so between TOS and TNG.
Let's put it this way: Captain Picard was in an early cadet, if I remember correctly. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, too, we'll be covering everything Star Trek on Union Federation. We had a great series of every 2-part episode reviewed for the Star Trek The Next Generation. And, of course, we gave our full coverage to the final season of Lower Decks, Season 5. But most recently, we are returning to the Orville here on the Union Federation podcast. And we are doing crew profiles, Mr. Reitzel.
Yes, we're going to be doing a limited 10-episode limited series on the Orville crew. We're going to take each crew member, and Amy and I have picked out 2 episodes that they were highlighted in, and we're going to discuss those 2 episodes. We're going to talk about the characters themselves, how they've interacted, with the crew members, and of course, how their character development came along. And we're going to ask the question too, what we would like to see more of them in any future, hopefully future episodes of Orville if we do get a season 4.
Yep, gonna be a lot of fun with that run. And of course, our good buddy, the Lethal Mullet, Adam O'Brien, he's got all kinds of stuff coming out, including his coverage of the movie Leviathan, something that has become incredibly popular with its first episode, his Lethal Mullet take with Mullet Star Galactica, which has become a hit on the network. And of course, too, we are in the time warp, and it is the start of a new year, and that means it's time to start covering a new year in time warp, and that year is 1990, which is a surprisingly strong year for movies. Currently out is our January episode, and soon we will be recording our February episode, which is going to include some great thrillers and action films like La Femme Nikita, Revenge, Hard to Kill, and of course Nightbreed as well. So it's going to be a fun year for February. For 1990
and Blood of Heroes, aka Salute of the Jugger, filmed in Australia. My wife's a big fan of that. Lethal Mullet himself, Adam O'Brien's a big fan of that. So yeah, we'll be discussing that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have been very busy over at Couch Potato Theater. We have been covering a lot of James Cameron films because of their release in 4K that inserted with the Terminator. And of course, Kevin, we celebrated the 10-year anniversary of John Wick. You suited up once again for that podcast.
I'm looking forward to the ballerina coming out. I just saw that on the big screen as a trailer, and I can't wait to see that movie. I'm so excited.
And of course, continuing our Cameron coverage, we had a special Couch Potato Theater for everybody around here, where we covered Aliens and the 4+ hour documentary Aliens Expanded, all about the making of Aliens. Then, of course, too, we had a little fun too with Kevin. You had a few of the ladies join you to talk Michael Keaton in Johnny Dangerously. We had our Christmas episode in The Long Kiss Goodnight. We also continued our coverage with The Abyss for our James Cameron coverage. And we had the first ever Instant Potato Theater, Deadpool and Wolverine, which, of course, our good buddy Cat, or as we call him, Catpool, joined us for that. And we got some stuff coming up, too, because 2025 is our retrospective on canon films. That's right. We're diving deep into the 80s with Couch Potato Theater, and we will be recording very soon our first installment of that with American Ninja 1 and American Ninja 2 in the same Couch Potato Theater. That's a lot of ninja for one podcast, Kevin.
Hell yeah, not enough if you ask me, but yes.
And of course, annual tradition here of a Valentine's Day couch potato theater. Sometimes we go traditional. This year, we go commando. You can take that as you will, but we are covering the Schwarzenegger classic from 1985, Commando. Have your saw blades ready. And
we discussed the director's cut. Yeah, there you go.
We had a lot of fun with that podcast, and it's going to be a fun Valentine's Day edition. Will be coming out Valentine's Day, so we hope you all tune in to that episode. And of course, Kevin, Blood of Kings is back on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Yeah, we just released a really cool episode with a special guest, the director of one of the Highlander episodes called Two of Hearts, where it was a sixth season where they were basically kind of having an audition season with a bunch of women trying to figure out who was going to be the spin-off character. And Claudia Christian, who more famously is known for Babylon 5, she was the star of this episode. And Richard Martin was the director. We had him on as a guest, and we've had him on before. And he sent me a bunch of dailies from like on video cassette that he did back in the day. And I got to digitize them, and we watched the dailies from this particular episode. And he commented, and Lee and I asked him questions about it. It's a cool peek behind the scenes. And then we also are going to be celebrating. Lee and I just recorded episode coming out later in a few weeks. We are celebrating Starlog Magazine and Highlander. And Starlog Magazine has one of the huge nostalgia for a lot of us, with a lot of really fun movies and TV shows they covered. I mean, Starlog was one of the main reasons that got us into certain stuff, and was able to find things. And it did a really good run of covering Highlander. And we covered 86 issue that came out soon after the movie did. And we talked about the article. And what's also funny too, Kyle, is our good friend John Mosby, who we had on last week celebrating 2024. He said, I wrote an article for Highlander 3 in one of the Starlog magazines. I just can't remember which one it was. He narrowed it down, and I found one on eBay, and I just ordered it. So we're gonna hopefully maybe get.
Oh, so he wasn't fibbing to us.
Yeah. So I'll find out for sure when I get it. But he's pretty sure it was the one that I ordered. So yeah. Lacey, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was looking at the text. The font, does that say episode 173 or 113?
It says 173 and 174.
Okay, so my question is, because there's only 119 episodes of Highlander, the TV series. I'm assuming you obviously had a couple episodes probably on the films. Where did you go? How did you come up with another 50 episodes? Is it did you do like cast highlights, or did you do like what's your
Well, if you listen to the opening of every episode, we cover all things Highlander. And what's funny is that there was another podcast that covered all the episodes, but we don't do an episode by episode breakdown in an order like most people did. We did cover many of the episodes, and we've covered most of the movies. Actually, no, we've covered all the movies, but we take other aspects to it and cover other things about Highlander. Okay, and like a good example here is who talks about an episode and then has the director on to talk about the filmmaking of it, or in this case, who talks about Starlog and Highlander. Well, we do. So yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Kevin, that's not true. You have not covered all the movies, because the podcast officially ends when we finally do Highlander: The Source.
We actually did cover The Source, Kyle.
Did you?
Yeah, we had John Mosby on for that, actually.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, no.
Yeah, Lacey, we didn't want to step on the toes of our other fellow podcaster, the Highlander Rewatch, because that was their stick. So when Norm and I originally started, we're like, well, we're going to cover other stuff and take it from a different angle. We will cover episodes and movies and have our take on them. And we covered several episodes of the animated series as well.
Nice.
And the animated film as well. So
yes,
yeah. And there's been news coming out about the new one coming out and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure there's right on.
Blood of Kings is immortal. I'm gonna say. And of course, here on Culture Clash tonight, we are covering Jupiter Ascending and seeing if it will be saved from Fandom Oblivion. We have got a lot of fun things to talk about. And without further ado, let's get into some of those things, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
Let's news.
And there has been a lot going on in news, especially one piece of news that is gaining steam day by day right now. Because Kevin, from all sounds of it, at least we are possibly looking at it. Buffy may be back. And this has been making the rounds on the internet and gaining steam, including Sarah Michelle Gellar coming out yesterday on social media and talking about how she finally feels like there's a project that is worthwhile for Buffy to come back. But here's what is going on. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is nearing a pilot order at Hulu. Sources say that Sarah Michelle Gellar is in final talks to once again play the iconic title character in the Untitled project, although it would focus on a new Slayer and Gellar would appear in a reoccurring role rather than leading the series. Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman are attached to write, showrun, and executive produce, and Chloe Zhao is attached to direct and executive produce under her Book of Shadows production banner. Gellar would also be an executive producer along with Gail Berman. Kevin, this is absolutely huge news in the world of fandom.
Yeah, Sarah, I don't know if it was actually her, but she has a Facebook thing and she went on all about it. And I, in so many words, she's excited to do it, but I don't know if they've really finalized exactly how this show's going to, I guess, come about, or the direction and everything. And we always thought that if she did come back and they did return to this world, that it would be more of a mentor role and there would be another Slayer that it would highlight, which makes sense. But I'm really curious too to see how much the other cast would be willing to come in and do spots from time to time, because I think that would be really kind of crucial. But when I look back, I recently did my Buffy rewatch last year, and I'm really kind of curious to see where they might go with the rest of the cast, because honestly, some of the cast could use some work.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I mean, Lacey, Buffy is one of the all-time great fandoms out there, and people have been clamoring for years for a return of Buffy. This might finally be it. It's got some power. It seems like it has some real legs right now.
Yeah, I watched an interview with Sarah Michelle Gellar day before yesterday, I guess, where she was talking about how she had been adamantly against it for over a decade. Just saying, it's done. It was done properly. It ended. It was it had its life, and it's got this sort of perfection to it that the fans love, and we should leave it be. And then when she got cast on Dexter, the new, New Blood, I think
New Blood,
prequel, right? She said that she started realizing how they did it, and then she was like, well, and I watched, there's so many other sort of prequels and sequels and kind of reboots and stuff coming out, and she said we could do this. And apparently Gail Berman contacted her and said that Chloe Zhao had expressed interest, and she was like, holy crap, I'll take the meeting just so that I can meet Chloe Zhao. Because that's amazing. And apparently a 20-minute coffee turned into 4 hours of them talking about like plot lines and potential, recurring characters and potentially her coming back as a watcher, and all that kind of stuff. And Dolly Parton was interviewed on the red carpet yesterday of something else she was doing. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. Like, this would be a great thing to come back out. I'm the first one was amazing. And I love the fact that right now it's an all female team to lead the show. I know that there were some, this is me talking, no longer Dolly talking, but there's been some darkness over the show with some of the issues that happened behind the scenes, but apparently Joss Whedon is not involved at all, and it's entirely going to be helmed by Chloe, Nora, Lila, Zuckerman, and then Gail Berman. So I think it's going to be, it should be pretty awesome if they do get underneath it. And apparently it's with Hulu, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Hulu. Yes.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be Hulu? Jesus Christ.
I don't know. What is it? Just Jesus.
The one pay channel I don't have. So it's just like,
Gotcha.
Jeez. All right.
Okay.
But I did want to mention that when she was doing a convention for the appearance of Dexter, she was overwhelmed by the standing ovation that she got, because a lot of those fans are Buffy fans, and seeing her in another show, and I think, I don't know if they were chanting Buffy or whatever, but that just kind of showcased, like, her Buffy fandom is everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Chloe Zhao, by the way, was a director of the Eternals, as among other things.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Eternals because it's time to go into the trailer park, Kevin. And we had a couple of big trailers come out this week for movies that are going to be shaping up the summer big time. And the first of that was we got our first official trailer for Fantastic Four. And what Marvel Studios actually did something kind of cool with this. They debuted the official trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps that day at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. The inaugural trailer featured a live audience and key cast members at the event, which was live streamed in real time with the Saturn V rocket serving as the backdrop. All four of the Fantastic Four were there: Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Emmett Moss Bacharach, and they commandeered the countdown and launched, surrounded by fans outside of the National Geographic Theater. Angelique Roche hosted the event, which also included a Q&A with the stars. Now, Lacey, I'm not going to go to you because I know you have an avoidance of trailers. You like to be pleasantly surprised.
I saw it.
You saw it? Okay,
I saw like 15% of it before I was like, oh, that's no.
it's too late. So, but Kevin, I'm going to start with you. We talked a little bit of this too on our True Believers podcast. What did you think of the Fantastic Four trailer?
I really enjoyed it. The teaser or whatever it was that we got before, I wasn't wowed at all, but I really like this kind of what is it, like a 60s retro type of look to it, the technology and the rockets that looked not George Jetsons, but it, you know how it feels. It feels like, you know, it's like a lot of the stuff kind of had that 60s, late 60s kind of cool look, you know, with a lot of the settings and furniture, and then some of the rockets and cars looked kind of really cool with a little futuristic edge to it. And even though I didn't read the original comics, having them dress up in the classic blue and white, I respect that because I know what that is, and I've seen that on covers and many print stuff. And I think that hit a chord with fans as well. And I thought that was a smart choice to do that. My only big question is, and I hope they don't F this up, and I hope that they do somehow make it into the current MCU timeline, whether it's through a time rift or something like that. But I like the fact that we're starting it in this time. So I hope that they do make the jump so we can finally see these guys in the future.
I believe they will be making the jump, considering what plans Marvel has coming up. Lacey, you said you saw about 15% of this. What did you think of what you saw of it?
I thought it looked great. You know, everybody's talking about how they're.
How did you not want to watch the rest of the trailer? That flabbergasted by that. I want to
be surprised when I watch the film.
But you watch the trailer to get excited for the film.
But the problem with trailers now is that you watch a 2-minute trailer and it's got more information than necessary. You know, it used to be
in a lot of cases, yes, but I feel that
you would have just enough information to be like, oh, that looks cool. I wonder what happens. And then
you're hold on. You're right in most cases, but when it comes to the Marvel stuff, they do a good job of keeping the good stuff secret. They do a really good job of not giving away stuff. There's a good track record with that, right, Kyle? When you look back at all the Marvel trailers,
and I'm going to tell you, Lacey, in this aspect, this trailer really is what I would call a fluff trailer. It's really to give you the feel of the film and a look at it. There's no real major reveals because
what I did get to see was I saw each of the characters. I saw her saying, you know, we knew him. You know, he was always a rock, and then Johnny's just Johnny, and you know, before you were able to be invisible, and so I saw like each of the transformations, which is enough for me to be like, nope, okay, that's good, that's enough. I'm super stoked. I really want to see it. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited about it. I'm interested to see how, because from what I understand, just from being incapable of like not hearing the things and the stuff and the whatnots, they're using Silver Surfer, but they're not using the original. They're using the third incarnation, I think, of the Silver Surfer, which is female. I think.
Well, it's a little more complex than that, and that we'll get into that more on an episode of True Believers when we get into more of the Fantastic Four.
But I'm used to, you know, the whole Doctor Doom of it all, right? So knowing that RDJ is going to be coming in as Doom, I wonder if that's how they're going to connect Fantastic Four to Doom in the main Avengers timeline. So I wonder, there's going to have to be some sort of like time travel, space loop, wormhole, something.
Kevin?
I did want to give a shout out to, and someone on social media brought it to my attention that other people started going to it. If you look at the stage that they're on right now, is a
Mhm.
tribute to when the Beatles played. I don't know if it was
Ed
Ed
Sullivan.
Sullivan or one of
Yeah.
the things they it's played on that exact same style of stage with the arrows pointing to the stage like that, the arrows
Nice.
raised. I thought that was very cool that they paid tribute to that Beatles performance with that.
Nice.
Well, the one thing I will say about this trailer, I truly feel like it's the first time a Marvel film has gotten the proper look of the Thing, and I love
Hmm.
seeing her. I loved seeing Herbie at the beginning of the trailer to the robot, and the fact that they snuck in a little tribute to the bear in this booth because of Evan's role in the bear. So I thought they had a little fun with that.
Nice.
I'm more excited for this movie now.
I didn't get any of those references.
Yeah. I'm hearing some rumors we might need to pay attention to things that might come on during Super Bowl ads for the Fantastic Four. So nothing
I'll catch
confirmed.
this on YouTube afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But we had another huge trailer drop.
I'm sorry. Can we just acknowledge that Kevin just said he's not watching the Super Bowl? Is it because of the teams playing? Are you boycotting the Super Bowl?
Yes, I am boycotting the Super Bowl.
All right, and it's because the
Let's not even get into it right now. I don't want to do it right now.
It is a non-speaking subject where we will
Okay.
move on.
Gotcha.
We will talk about some dinosaurs though, because we got the first look at Jurassic World Rebirth, starring Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really think I needed this in my life at this point. To already do a reboot when it wasn't that long ago. We got the last Jurassic World film. I'm not exactly impressed by the concept they're going with, but I do like Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali a lot, so I will probably give this a chance. Kevin, did you watch the trailer? Because I know you haven't been.
Yes, this is a good example, Lacey, of how you spoil everything, by the way. Let me just say this right now. I have no interest in watching this movie. I don't care if Mahershala Ali and Scarlett Johansson is in it. And in the beginning of the trailer, they mentioned how like bad this mission is that they're going to go to. You know, we don't care why they're going there. Some DNA research thing that they need for whatever MacGuffin reason. But why the F are they taking a child along on one of the most dangerous missions of all time? I get the first movie had kids in it because it was supposed to be this, they're at an amusement park.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to bring any child on a dangerous expedition like this. You lost me at that. Goodbye, Jurassic Rebirth. I am not going to be part of that birthing.
Hold on a second. I think almost all of the films have had children in them, though, haven't they? The first one had the two grandchildren. The second one had Goldblum's daughter who stowed away. The third one was the kid who got lost on the island.
Yeah, they all had a child in them.
They always try to get kids in it because the kids are because kids are the ones that mostly go drag their parents to see this now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I saw this trailer. I'm like, I'm out.
But from what I read, this isn't it's not so much a reboot as a
it's continuing.
It's a continuation.
It's a continuation of the second trilogy with like almost like a rescue recovery mission, like where they're going to
they're trying to get DNA from very dangerous
some kind of disease that dinosaur DNA can cure, but it has to be from but of course it has to be from only the biggest dinosaurs there are.
Yeah, the dangerous ones.
Right.
So
not doing it.
Yeah, we will wait and see here on Jurassic World.
Well, I love Jonathan Bailey. I love Mahershala Ali. I love Scarlett Johansson. I haven't seen.
Who's Jonathan Bailey from?
Jonathan Bailey is he was Anthony on Bridgerton. Then he was the prince in Wicked. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's been in.
I didn't recognize him.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to recognize all of the people. There are plenty of people that I don't.
I was trying to recognize him, but I didn't.
He does a really good bedtime story on Calm, which is nice. I listen to him when I'm going to sleep. He does a good one.
Okay, cool.
Well, guys, one more thing real quick here, because we're going to actually preview something. Lacey, you're going to help me out with this. Since you have them.
Oh, I don't have all of them. I just have the one.
Well, you have one of them, but let's take a preview because it's time to talk a little popcorn bucket. Captain America's coming out this week. I got my ticket, but certain people who I am incredibly jealous of have some Captain America gear already. And did they offer? Did they pick me up any? No.
Did they what now? I didn't hear you.
They picked
Yeah,
me
Kyle, you cut out there, buddy.
Did they pick me up any? Oh no.
I will be back on Thursday to see the film, so let me know if you need me to pick something up.
I need a shield and a cup if I can't find them at my local AMC.
Hold on.
Now, okay, so which theater is this from, Lacey?
This is Regal. I always do Regal. I'm a Regal member.
Kyle, can you please get the big picture away so we can see her better?
Okay, so description for the people who are listening. This is a shield. Okay, so it's about 3 inches, 4 inches deep. It's got the shield flat on the front, and then the back of it has some super awesome wings that pop up that you can fold them down to not poke yourself in the middle of the movie, so you're not like poking yourself in the eye.
Can we see the back of that?
Yep, and they fold down nicely. And then the top of it is, popcorn mania, which is very cool. The cups, I don't have the cup downstairs, but I do have they have a standard bucket that is the shield with the A on it. And the lid is Cap's shield.
Mm-hmm.
And it's metal and it's awesome. It comes as a combo pack. It's the bucket and 2 cups, one with Red Hulk as a topper and one with Cap as a topper.
Now that's the AMC one, correct?
No, I am a Regal member. I'm part of their Regal Unlimited membership. It's fantastic. It's like $23 a month. You see as many movies as you want, and then you get like 10% off of all the merch and stuff. So I always go to Regal. That's just my jam. And it's also the closest one to me, and it's the comfiest seats and everything. So I'm sold on Regal. But it's cool. This is the little Red Hulk topper right here, and I will have on Thursday Friday, I guess. No, I don't know when we have our True Believer special. Right, when we do the True Believer, I'll have all of the pieces because I kept the bucket in my car because I bought it today just in case they ran out, but I didn't get I didn't have my popcorn today, so I'm going to take the bucket back to have my popcorn because it's a whole weird thing.
Now, Kevin, don't you not have some Captain America gear as well?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting on finding it because I went to go see Trap. We happen to be down in the Ventura area, which is, I have to drive south about 45, 50 minutes, an hour to get to good theaters. And I noticed they had some popcorn buckets. I'm like, holy crap. And oh my God, I saw Captain America stuff. They were selling at Cinemark. No, wait, I'm sorry. Just Cinemark? Yeah. And they were selling them early. And so I got the Captain America mug here. I'm showing.
Ooh, that's different.
Yeah, it's a
nice
like that
one.
They had a version of not the shield, but they had like the wings or something, but I didn't like it. But they did have the cool helmet popcorn bucket here.
That's awesome.
And it opens up in the back here, right there. It actually kind of reminds me of Cobra Commander's helmet, Kyle.
Nice.
The second version, yeah.
But anyway, so I had to get this because I thought this looked really cool. And I wasn't expecting to come away from it, but I am going to go get tickets for probably the AMC or the IMAX at Regal. And I know Regal is having an IMAX night special. I don't know if the timing is going to work for me, but I want to get the cool thing that you got there, Lacey, the shield thing when things come out there. But I really like. Did they have the helmet at Regal?
No, I didn't see the helmet, but there is the one thing I failed to mention was they do have a Red Hulk bust. That's huge. It's nice. It's like a full size, but the thing is, the way it's put together, you have to turn it on its front and the back of it, like between its shoulder blades opens up for the popcorn. And I don't find it to be something that would be easy to get to your, I don't know how that's going to work. So I did not pick that one up. It was, that one was $36. The 2 drinks and the,
I'm going on preview night because this stuff's going to sell out.
Yeah, exactly.
If it hasn't already sold out, being sold early. So yeah.
The combo pack was the giant, the metal tin with the shield lid, and then 2 cups, one with Red Hulk and one with cap
Cool.
on it, and the
We'll showcase that stuff when we do the True
right, it's
Believers
$42
reaction show.
for those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, with that, it is time to transition into what we are here to talk about, a little fandom oblivion. That's right, guys. It's time to talk Jupiter Ascending and see if we're going to save it from oblivion or if we're going to let it float away into the ether. We're going to have a very fun discussion about this, guys. So, do you remember? Remember me? Fandom Oblivion, Channing Tatum, Mila Kunis, the Wachowskis, a movie that a lot of people were talking about, but did it kind of miss the mark, or should we bring it back? We got some of the movie pictures. Kevin, would you mind kind of cycling through the slides as I talk about the plot here?
Sure.
So the plot of Jupiter Ascending is as follows, according to IMDb. Earth's residents are unaware that the human species on Earth and countless other planets were established by families of alien royalty for the purpose of harvesting their resulting organisms to produce a type of youth serum for the elites on other planets. After the death of the matriarch of the House of Abraxas, the most powerful of the alien dynasties, her 3 children, Balaam, Kalik, and Titus, are fighting for their primary heir. Jupiter Jones, an unlucky caretaker of other people's houses, is identified as the genetic match of the murdered alien matriarch who used to rule Earth. Genetically engineered ex-military hunter Caine Wise shows up to protect her from alien assassins and take her to outer space where their heirs of the Abraxas dynasty are plotting against her. Now, if you want to go from the wiki side of it, Jupiter Ascending, a 2015 space opera film written, directed, and co-produced by the Wachowskis, starring Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis, with Sean Bean, Eddie Redmayne, and Douglas Booth in supporting roles. The film is centered on Jupiter Jones, who was played by Kunis, an ordinary cleaning woman, and Caine Wise, played by Channing Tatum, an interplanetary warrior who informs Jones that her destiny extends beyond Earth. It was released in February 6, 2015 by Warner Brothers Pictures. The film received generally negative reviews from critics. Despite praise for the visual effects, the narrative was criticized as confusing, and there are some reasons for that. Kevin, would you like to speak about the development of this film?
Sure. I did want to mention, too, that as of today, it is actually celebrating its 10th anniversary because this was released in February, which a lot of people call Dumpuary, So yeah, it did not get its summer release there. So yeah, I'll go ahead and read the development here. In 2009, Warner Brothers president Jeff Robinov approached the Wachowskis about creating an original intellectual property and franchise. Development began 2 years later with production and visual effects team doing pre-production work based on the first draft of the script. While the Wachowskis were shooting the feature segments of Cloud Atlas, the story was partly inspired by Lana's favorite book, The Odyssey. Quote, "It was making me super emotional," Lana had said. "The whole concept was these almost spiritual journeys and your change." Another inspiration was The Wizard of Oz, which Lana contrasted to The Odyssey. Dorothy is pretty much the same at the end as she is at the beginning, whereas Odyssey goes through such an epic shift in his identity. The Wachowskis themselves describe the plot of the film as an effort to reverse the classical science fiction trope of the hero who is, quote, emotionally withholding and strong and stoic. Instead, they try to create a new form of female science fiction hero in a space opera genre. Quote, "We were like, we can bring a different kind of female character like Dorothy or Alice, characters who negotiate conflict and complex situations with intelligence and empathy. Yes, Dorothy as the protector, Toto who's always barking at everyone, and that was sort of the origin of Caine." In filming, the film was co-produced between the United States and Warner Brothers Pictures and Australia Village Roadshow Pictures, with both studios providing 40% of the budget and Rat Pack Dune Entertainment the remaining 20%. Roberto Malerba and Bruce Berman served as executive producers. Principal photography commenced at Warner Brothers Studios Leavesden on April 2nd, 2013, on an initial budget of $130 million. Filming also took place at Ely Cathedral in England. The production remained in the London studio through June, then moved to various locations in Chicago, Illinois, throughout late July and August. Minor reshoots to clarify plot points took place in January and early May of the next year, the latter of which took place in Bilbao, Basque Country, Spain. Star Channing Tatum later stated, Jupiter Ascending was a nightmare from the jump. It was always a sideways movie. All of us were there for 7 months, busting our hump. It was just tough.
Yeah, you could say that. This movie has quite an interesting history with it. But Kevin, too, you put a little stuff out there on Facebook about Jupiter Ascending, and you got some responses from some of our listeners and followers.
Yes, the lethal mullet himself, Adam O'Brien, because I wanted to kind of see what people were saying other than us. I said, revisiting Jupiter Ascending. Who remembers watching this? It's been 10 years, directed by, of course, the Matrix Trilogy Wachowskis. So I wanted to get some feedback here. And Adam O'Brien said, great film. I watched it earlier last year. It had potential if they made a trilogy, I think. And one of our co-hosts of our What a Piece of Junk Star Wars podcast, Scott Botman, said, I kind of like this one. Last year, Rebel Moon gave me some of these same vibes, and it was a fun ride. Stevie McLeod, my good Scottish friend, said, loved it. My old friend, Sean McConnell, said, fun movie. Martin Wood said, Eddie Redmayne's voice choice in this was hilarious, though. Very creepy, too, and I would agree. And then my friend Matt Berry in the UK said, fun movie, but it would have been so much more. Then Valerian came out a couple of years later, and I found myself with the exact same opinion once again. So I think you already know he's going from that, and we'll discuss that later. So,
yeah, interesting choices, but yeah, there were some things on this. But let's talk about the cast here a little bit as well, because it was a very interesting cast. You had, of course, Channing Tatum as Caine Wise, a genetically engineered soldier, half human and half canine. Though this is not immediately visible, he has a tremendously powerful sense of smell that allows him to track a gene through the universe. Mila Kunis as Jupiter Jones. Kunis describes her character as unhappy with her job and life until Caine finds her. Sean Bean as Stinger Apney, a Han Solo type character. Stinger is half human and half honeybee, which gives him enhanced speed, special vision, and a high sense of loyalty. He is Caine's former comrade, but lives on Earth with his daughter. Eddie Redmayne as Balaam Abraxas, first primary of the House of Abraxas, and the eldest of 3 Abraxas siblings. Balaam controls the wealthiest business empire in the known universe from a gigantic refinery in the great red spot of the planet Jupiter. He feels threatened by Jupiter Jones' claim to Earth and tries to stop her. Douglas Booth as Titus Abraxas, third primary of House of Abraxas, and Balaam's brother. Booth has described his character as a bit of a playboy, mentioning his spaceship as described in the script as a cross between a Gothic cathedral and the Playboy Mansion. He had Edward Hogg as Chincherry Knight and Maria Doyle Kennedy as Alexa, Jupiter's mother. Now, very interesting cast to go with this movie. What did you guys think of the cast, Kevin? I'll start with you on that.
First of all, I love Mila in this movie. I thought that was a good cast there, and I like Channing Tatum. It was interesting to see the kind of different alien character he was. He had these little weird ears, and he had those cool like hover skates and stuff like that. But I thought he was a badass in this. It's good to see Sean Bean in this as well. But Eddie Redmayne, no one knew who he was at this time. And he was a creepy bad guy in this too. And he played it really, really well. Kind of disturbingly well, to be honest with you, though. But like at the time, no one knew who he was 10 years ago.
Lacey, what about you?
It's funny. I think that it was one of those things where I want to say Eddie Redmayne had just kind of hit the Oscar situation with Theory of Everything, but I don't think anybody realized that he was going to be this, like, the character, the character he played in this was so, it felt like everything he did was dripping, if that makes any sense. Like everything he did felt like he was dripping, like dripping. He just sort of glided places and just oozed. That was his thing. But the cast is great. I think that Tuppence Middlebrook as the sister was fantastic. I don't remember the gentleman's name, the actor, but the guy who plays her, Mila Kunis's brother, cousin, the one who's trying to get her to sell his eggs, and she's like, "Why do I get $5,000 and you get 10,000?" He's like, that's how capitalism works. It takes a strong actor to be able to pull that kind of thing off, and I think that everybody did. I think everyone was appropriately cast, and I very much enjoyed the decisions, the choices that they made in their characters.
And Kevin, just real quick, for you Star Trek Discovery fans out there, there might be a familiar face in there.
Yep. David Ajala was in this. He was one of the hunters that came to get Jupiter at Sean Bean's character's house with the bees. And a lot of people know David Ajala from Star Trek Discovery. He was kind of like the love interest of Michael Burnham in that. So yeah, and he also had like one of the coolest like space coats of all time in Discovery, and he was probably one of my favorite characters in that series. I'm not a big fan of that series overall, but he was cool bitching in that one.
Right on.
Now, Kevin, you went across the verse and you braved some things on Jupiter, avoided being cold for youth serum to find some interesting trivia about.
I did.
Thing. What did you find for us, sir? Why don't you open things up here?
Okay, so first bit of trivia here is the chase sequence in Chicago is codenamed 52 Part by the film's crew. It was the longest sequence in the script, involving some of the film's most difficult stunts. To complete it, Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum had to film every day for 6 months.
Channing Tatum had to wear a mouthpiece to change the shape of his lower jaw to realistically portray a part canine character. This unfortunately prevented him from closing his mouth and gave him trouble when he had to talk.
I read this trivia before I did the rewatch. I couldn't tell at all. Yeah, he's got a big square jaw anyway, and so I couldn't pick up on this.
Lacey, would you like to read the third piece of trivia we have?
On the date for the wide release of this movie, February 6, 2015, Jupiter was at its opposition, meaning it was at its closest point to Earth, and the sun fully illuminated the planet's face.
Maybe that's why it was filmed or maybe that's why it opened up in February. While doing a Q&A with fans on Reddit, one asked Channing Tatum what the movie was about, who responded, "Good question. I have that same one myself."
Yeah. And in Sliding Doors casting, Natalie Portman was originally cast as Jupiter Jones but dropped out. Rooney Mara was considered to replace her before Mila Kunis was finally cast. Lacey?
Channing Tatum wore skates for the gravity boot scenes, which was actually really cool. If you watch some of the behind-the-scenes featurettes, they were inline skates. He actually skated on ramps, platforms, and had cables for his stunts. The wheels were erased out of the film.
Kevin, this next piece of trivia, that's all you, man.
Oh, yeah, because I want to talk about this in a minute. This is the first 3D movie directed by the Wachowski sisters.
Yeah. And finally, Stinger Appany, Sean B's character, does not die in the film. As a result, there is an in-joke remark that his character made it through.
Yes.
So that's going to kind of wrap up the trivia here. But things are going to get a little spacey here because we're going to dive into a little bit more things with Jupiter ascending. And we're going to start with a little bit of information about this film because, guys, had a interesting release system because it came out January 27, 2015 at the Sundance Film Festival, then had its US debut February 6, 2015, and then in Australia at February 19th, 2015. This movie runs 127 minutes. It had a budget that ranged somewhere between 176 million to 210 million and a box office of 184 million. This movie also had a very expensive marketing campaign. But let's talk some of the critical responses to this because on Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds a rating of 28% based on 277 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 out of 10. The site's
not good.
Yeah, no. The site's critical consensus reads pleasing to the eye, but narratively befuddled. Jupiter Ascending delivers another visually thrilling misfire from the Wachowskis. On Metacritic, the film has a score of 40 out of 100 based on 40 reviews indicating mixed or average reviews. In cinema score polls conducted during the opening weekend, cinema audiences gave Jupiter Ascending an average grade of B- or on an A+ to an F scale. Kevin?
I like to mention what Letterbox is giving an average score, by the way. The ratings average score on Letterbox is a 2.0. I've given it, and this is a 2 out of 5 stars. Okay. Not like, some people that do like a 2 out of 4 or whatever, or, 1 out of 4 or whatever. I've given this one personally a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Interesting. Well, I want to hit this one last one. British film critic Mark Kermode said, Jupiter Ascending is a lot of things. Bonkers all over the place, incoherent, preposterous, ridiculous dialogue that George Lucas would have thrown in the bin, spectacularly overripe performance. I'm not going to say it's good, but I'd be lying to say if I said I didn't enjoy it. I
have to say that I think that's pretty spot on, to be perfectly honest with you. When it comes to all the reviews, that kind of sums up why this movie is under Save It Oblivion right there, because a lot of my feelings have come out of that critic comment right there.
It's funny because everybody talks about how they didn't understand it was incoherent. I understood exactly what was happening. I never had a question about what was happening. I was never confused. I didn't have any problems like understanding anything.
You're smarter than I am, because I still got questions after watching it again.
Okay, we'll get into
them. This movie does have some accolades.
What, Oscars? Or are we talking Golden Globes, Kyle? What are we talking?
Sought Golden Raspberry, Kevin. It was nominated for Worst Picture. Channing Tatum was nominated for Worst Actor. Mila Kunis was nominated for Worst Actress. Worst Supporting Actor, Eddie Redmayne, and he won it. He won the Golden Raspberry for.
Do you think he went to collect it, or do you think he owns it?
I would be curious. I wonder how many actors actually own their Golden Raspberry.
Because if I had an Oscar and a Raspberry, I would have them right next to each other.
Sandra Bullock is the first person to actually go and accept a Raspberry in person.
And then Halle Berry did.
And then there was but that was a little bit later. But then there was a director that picked it up, and then Halle Berry went. I think there's like 5 people who have gone and gotten them.
Gotcha.
Well, speaking of directors, yes, the Wachowskis were nominated for the Golden Raspberry, and Worst Screenplay was also a category it was nominated for. But guys, here's the ultimate question. Was this movie a failure? I mentioned it earlier. The budget was 176 to 210 million, and the box office only pulled in 184 million for a big budget science fiction film.
That makes it a failure, because that doesn't count all of the promotion and stuff.
And this movie got a lot of promotion. And this was an interesting time for the Wachowskis, because they were kind of coming off a bit of a rough patch. Obviously, they were getting a little criticism for the sequels to The Matrix. Speed Racer had come out, and while people like Speed Racer, it was a crazy long film that a lot of people just kind of fell asleep in because it was almost too long for them. And then they had this, and we'll get into it here in a little bit, because there's some things about this movie.
Also too, Kyle, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but before that, they did Cloud Atlas, which was not good. Apparently, it's got a 7.4 rating though on IMDb. I couldn't get through that movie. I did watch it all the way through, but no one goes back and talks about Cloud Atlas. I mean,
I know several people who liked Cloud Atlas. Now they tell me it's not a rewatchable film, but they did.
I want names and addresses.
Well, Kevin, you also did a little research, as you do with finding articles, and you found an interesting article. No One is Exempt: Exploring Jupiter Ascending 5 years later, from February 13th, 2020, by Jim Panola. Tell me what you found out in this article, Kevin.
Yeah, I always try to find recent articles about whatever it is that we're going to talk about, and this was a 2021, and they go on to say, Jupiter Ascending is a movie I haven't been able to stop thinking about for the last 5 years, not because of how sadly predictable its poor turnout was, and not even because of its thrilling singular action that is so risky and specific it seems to be rendered in real time. Ascension. Despite, or rather in addition to, this deliberate social commentary, Jupiter Ascending never takes itself too seriously, which is merciful considering that there's a rat-faced henchman named Mr. Knight. However, the strange mix of Oz-like wonder, unfashionable sincerity, and balls-out theme park action ride can feel contradictory. The unusual concoction becomes even stranger when the audience is introduced to the ascension process. Amid the weird body paint and cyberpunk paraphernalia, the ornate soaring cathedrals, Jupiter Ascending also floats on the absurdity of the mundane, the dull repetition in cleaning rich people's homes, eventually infuriating minutia in officially becoming entitled. Throughout the first half of the film, Jupiter balks at others recognizing her apparent royalty, but the further she is steeped in the vastness of her inheritance, the more she realizes how similar her new world is to her old one. Through her external settings have expanded, her internal state is unchanged. Nowhere is this as potent as it is during the sequence of Jupiter trying to receive her birthright, aka Earth. The desk-ridden, maze-like process spotlights the cognitive dissonance of bureaucracy, where the simplest, most linear solution is never the correct one. It is fitting, then, as the Wachowskis intended, that Jupiter's final gatekeeper is played by Terry Gilliam, director of the sci-fi satire Brazil, which mines much of its comedy from similarly maddening circumstances. This is where the film probably goes off the rails or comes to a screeching halt for many, despite the unironic mix of winged lizards, anti-gravity roller skates, and sparkly costumes. Jupiter Ascending maintains a high and frequent degree of action to at least keep casual viewers engaged, so that when the filmmakers apply the same attention and verve to what could easily be called a visit to the intergalactic DMV, it's destabilizing. I thought this article summed up a lot of how people perceive this film. More like the plot, the dialogue can be confusing. It is confusing, but visually it is freaking stunning. It really, really is. And I want to talk 3D stuff in a little bit. But I think there's certain movies that you go back to, you're like, I don't really remember or understand the plot that well. But man, it is visually cool to watch. I'm gonna watch it. Like Mila Jovovich in Ultraviolet. Yeah. It's very paint by numbers, but man, it's visually entertaining. Or like the live action Aeon Flux or something like that. Little things like there's certain movies that fall into that. Boy, I don't really remember or understand the plot, but it is fun to watch.
Yeah, with this movie, I agree with a lot of things they said in here. Visually, this is visual eye candy. This is a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen on an IMAX if you could. Visually, it's mind blowing. The story is very all over the place, and there's a reason why for that, and we'll get into it here in just a few minutes. But Lacey, what about you? What do you think?
I think this is Dune meets Soylent Green plus gene splicing, but in all the best ways. And I also think that the perfect pairing movie for this is John Carter.
Uh-huh.
I think if you put Valerian with this, it's too much. I think that I you know what, I really liked this movie. I don't think it was hard to understand. I think it was complex, and there were things that you had to pay attention to. It's not a movie you can sit and play on your phone. You can't just you can't read a book in the background. You can't put it on the background. This is not a background noise movie. This is a sit down, shut up, watch the movie. That's it. This is an in the theater, lights off, pay attention film. And if you do that, it's rewarded. I think it's really pretty. I think it's action packed. I think that the moral of the story, or whatever, that we were talking about, how she doesn't change. I think that's a very a positive way to look at the progression of her character. I think that people who were, I think the people who deserve, everyone in this film got the ending they deserved, which I appreciated. So
and Sean Bean didn't die.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Well, that's an ending he deserves right there. I mean,
right?
come on, let's go.
Yep. It's 2 hours and 7 minutes long. And when we got to 2 hours and 2 minutes, and he was like, "Yeah," like and he like when they do the thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Okay, he's gonna make
The
it."
movie does feel longer than 2 hours and
Oh
7
yeah,
minutes.
it does.
It does.
And
You think?
Yeah.
oh, very much so. But guys, let's talk a little bit real quick before we get into something I want to discuss too. Favorite scenes and moments in this film. Lacey, I'm going to let you go first because you have been the biggest proponent of Jupiter Ascending among us
Okay.
so far.
Okay, so I think that I loved the conversation between the phone conversation between her and the cousin when she's at the house in the country and she's trying to be like, "Hey, I'm okay, but I'm sorry I didn't come home." And she's trying to tell him that the procedure didn't happen. He's like, you cut to his scene and he's talking about how this is amazing and this is so great and didn't I tell you it was going to be amazing? And it turns out that he's already spent the money on like a giant TV system with video games and all this kind of stuff. And then she's like, "There was an accident at the lab. I didn't have the procedure." And he's like, oh. It's fantastic. The look on his face and the fact that the kid turns around and goes, "You're in trouble." It's just like this cute little character moment. As far as like the action of it, I loved the initial fight at the clinic when she's about to have her eggs harvested or whatever, and they turn out not to be actual doctors, and Caine comes in, he's like skating around the walls and stuff. Kind of had the feeling of the scene in I think it was X-Men, might have been First Class, might have been the one where Quicksilver comes around the room and does the
Days of Future Past, I think.
Days of Future Past, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of had that, like, he was like running around the room, killing all the aliens and stuff. That was really cool. And I loved her interaction with the bees when they first get to the cabin. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Kevin, what about you? What are some of your favorite scenes?
Okay, this is where I'm going to talk about the 3D version of this film, and I want to showcase that right now. I'm going to show it on the video here. That I got this on 3D. I also have it regular on Blu-ray DVD, but I'm actually going to get rid of the regular Blu-ray DVD because this 3D version also has the DVD and Blu-ray on it. But when I was when Blu-ray was when 3D was taken off after, of course, release of Avatar, I went to go see any of the movies I wanted to see in 3D first because I love the format, I love the theater going experience, and there was a lot of movies that came out in 3D that shouldn't have come out on 3D. It was just a cash grab to charge an extra $3 a ticket. Because remember, they charged extra for 3D, right? Mm-hmm. And IMAX and stuff. But this one I remember was one of the good films to see in 3D, especially like you said, when you mentioned John Carter earlier, Lacey, a good double feature. Mm-hmm. But I remember enjoying the 3D experience in this, maybe not understanding the whole plot, of course, but I came out of it with a fun time, and then I ended up getting it back. But when I was able to finally get my hands on a 3D TV and build up my 3D collection, this was one of them I had to get. And I got to tell you, it did not disappoint. And the scene that you mentioned, Lacey, which is one of my favorite scenes, when they show up at Sean Bean's house, the one with the bees in 3D was fantastic. It was really cool to see them coming around, especially when he starts talking about how bees can sense royalty. And I thought that was a really cool scene, especially since the whole queen bee thing as well. And there were some other great moments, but that whole scene with the house and then the corn cob field around it, I was kind of getting some Looper vibes out of it as well, because it was a similar setup, and how the hunters came to get her, and that cool actress that had the Asian actress that had the cool like purple hair and the hovercraft, and David Ajala's character as well. That was a really neat scene. The fight throughout Chicago was very cool. But the thing that also popped in 3D was those creepy little creatures that phase in and out. Oh my God, those guys are creepy. They still creep me out, and I loved it. And those are really cool in 3D and transitioned well on the 3D screen, and I really enjoyed watching that. When it starts getting towards the end and everyone starts battling and fighting, I kind of start to zone out a little bit because there was a lot of it. But I freaking loved the costumes in this movie. The costumes in this were fantastic, and the set decorations and stuff. I got to give a shout out to that. And I understood it a little bit more because it had been a while since I've seen this film. But when it started getting into, later in the, especially when Sean Bean's character does the traitor turn for a little bit, and Gugu and Batha Raw's character captures Channing Tatum's character, and Channing Tatum gets, ejected out into space. That was a really cool thing. I was getting vibes of Guardians of the Galaxy. When Star-Lord gets shot out into space and he's trying to come back and stuff. But those are some of my favorite scenes. And I got to tell you, it's movies like this that make me happy that I have a working 3D TV.
Nice.
For me, I love the fight scene in Chicago. I thought that was very well done. I also love the opening sequence when we see Channing Tatum's character for the first time and he fights the three other hunters in the alleyway. I thought that was very good and very good at setting up what we were kind of looking at. Honestly, I think everything they did in Chicago was visually really well done, and how they incorporated it in the city. When they get out into space, it's all visually stunning. It's almost a little too busy at times and too much.
Is it because there's so many weird alien characters you're trying to center on? Is that part of it too?
Well, but not only that, I mean, it's almost overwhelming because you're trying to catch so many things that are happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of eye candy to kind of, it's hard to focus on,
So there's that. But guys, something I kind of want to bring up here is, what would you have wanted for a sequel? And before we hit that discussion, there's this very necessary discussion about Jupiter Ascending and sequels, because Jupiter Ascending was always planned by the Wachowskis to be a trilogy. And because the film was over budget, what happened with Cloud Atlas and the Wachowskis were kind of I would say they were losing a little bit of their clout because of what happened. They had started filming this as a trilogy. They thought they had they were set up for a trilogy, and the studio basically about halfway through the filming said, "Nope, you're just going to make it one movie." And I think in this case, this is one of the biggest reasons why this movie is so negatively looked upon, is because it is very disconjointed, because it's 3 movies put into one movie. And there's transitions in this movie that if they would have been a trilogy, probably make infinitely more sense with the story. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons, Kevin, why this movie feels like it is jumping all over the place rapidly.
I had not heard that. I did not know that they had made this decision during production of the first film because I mean, they came to the Wachowskis saying, we want a franchise. We want you guys to work on a franchise, and franchise usually means you're going to get 3 movies. Usually. Yeah. I didn't know that they changed their mind. Was stuff going? Were they watching dailies and stuff going like, I don't know.
It was a little bit of that, a little bit of how over budget the film, how much budget the film was running, and again, they were filming this with Cloud Atlas, and they're coming out, and like I said, the Wachowskis just kind of lost a little bit of their power and luster. I think there's some other reasons when you talk about the Wachowskis that this might have happened to, especially during that time frame. But they just it turned into basically the rug being pulled out from under them. And I really, really would be curious to see how this would have worked as a true trilogy, where they were able to kind of tell the story they wanted to tell, and not this kind of sewn together footage from 3 different movies, because the plan was to film them all together, but it's basically sewn together footage of 3 different movies because all of a sudden they had to wrap everything up in one film.
Okay, so I got a question for you guys then. Because they had to wrap this up into one movie, then does that mean that we probably would not have seen Jupiter return back to Earth cleaning toilets? Do you think that she would have stayed in space and there would have been some more chapters to be told before she finally returns back?
Yeah, there would have been. I think the original plot was, and Lacey, if you have any thoughts on this, I think part 1 was her on Earth and everything that happened originally on Earth. Part 2 was her going into space and going through this stuff through the ascension, probably, and then part 3 was her return back to Earth. And so I think that's how they originally kind of had it planned. But Lacey, you were I saw you kind of nodding your head and looking over while I was talking about what happened with Jupiter ascending.
Well, I mean, if you look at the traditional hero's journey of it all, that's what makes most sense. On Earth, off Earth, back on Earth. Yeah. But I think that it would have made more sense if the film that we see was 2 parts, right? Her being on Earth and escaping to the craziness, and then the war or the ascension, and then coming back. And then the third film would be something where she actually is called upon to take over and actually do the things that she needs to do. Like maybe someone tries to, actually do the harvest or something like that. Like, because there's a lot of politics in this that I don't think got fleshed out. I mean, who owns what and what is going to happen if, X person decides to do this or that. But you don't ever see like a council of people talking about what they should do or anything like that. So it's interesting. I think that if it was going to be a sequel, or if there was going to be a sequel, or if it had been a trilogy, I feel like the third film, or even the second film, could have been what happens when they say, well, we need to harvest, because if they don't harvest Earth, they're going to run out of their goo, right? And the goo is what keeps them young, is what, because that's what lets them live for millennia.
Yeah, there's one character that lived for like 14,000 years.
Yeah,
And I found that actually fascinating, especially when you get to see her dip into the pool and then she becomes even younger.
And the mother had lived for 93 millennia.
Yeah. Millennia. So
right, and so so I think that it's going to be something where that if they don't harvest the Earth, as they were talking about, which is kind of what reminded me of like Dune and the spice and Abraxas and all that. It kind of felt like that, but just with like people being the spice. Yeah. It's kind of where that kind of the strings kind of pulled me there. But I think that it would be her having to, they say that if you don't make a stand, if she can claim the Earth for her own, but going back to Earth and just kind of like dipping out, humans only last X amount of years. So what happens when she's she's not gonna take the goo, because she doesn't want to deal with the idea that hundreds of people died for her to live another 100 years or whatever.
I feel like that if this movie hadn't been crammed into one, we would have gotten a little more of a coherent story, and then you were going, okay, now I really want to see a sequel. But because they made that decision, like you're saying, Kyle, that they kind of had to cram all this stuff in together to complete this one film.
Yeah.
And I saw this like 5 times in the theater. So I was.
A lot of people. I know a lot of people were excited about it and came out of it going, "What did I just see?" They were very confused by it. Which confusion might be a reason why this movie went to oblivion. So it's time to ask the question: do we save Jupiter ascending from oblivion, guys? Kevin, I want you to kick things off here. What are your feelings about saving Jupiter ascending from oblivion?
I haven't seen this film in probably over 5 years. I've owned it, obviously, and then I picked it up on 3D when I was going through my kind of 3D collection phase. And I'm still going through that, but I hit the fast track on it. And I'm like, oh, wait, I got to get Jupiter ascending on 3D. But I wasn't sure why, because I still found the movie confusing, But it's so funny. I've seen Mila in a lot of stuff since then. I've seen Channing Tatum in a lot of stuff since then. And those were the only two. And I did remember Sean Bean was in it. But those were the only 3 actors that I remember that were in it. And so I was really excited to return to this and talk about it. And I got to say, putting the 3D viewing aside, I would definitely save it from Oblivion. I think it has a certain part in our, movie history that's fun to kind of discuss and talk about. And like, as we brought to the table here, the big what if this was a trilogy, because during this time, there was a lot of push to get these new franchise movies coming out with young hot actors. Obviously we had the Twilights, we had the what was the Maze Runners, the whatchamacallit,
the young adult, kind of the young adult run of
the Shailene Woodley series, the Insurgent series. This was kind of trying to fall in that line too. And then also too, this movie came out right in the middle of, actually towards the end of the 3D run as well, because I think they stopped making 3D TVs between 2005 and 2015 and 2017. And there's a lot to, even if you still find it confusing, I find that each time, because I've watched it twice since to get ready for this podcast, I always find something new in it, because there's so much to where it's kind of confusing to keep track of everything that's going on. But whether it's all the different weird characters or the starships and stuff like that, it's a visual feast basically. And I think that is a crowning achievement for it, and is probably what it's going to mostly be known for. But I've become a huge Mila fan, even with their bad mom comedies and stuff like that. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, and she's gone on interviews talking about it. The fact that she's part of a Russian family is great, because she's actually really from a Russian family.
Ukrainian.
And what's that?
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian. Okay.
Yeah,
but she speaks Russian. She knows it because they all kind of share similar language and stuff. But I thought that was kind of cool that she had similar ties to that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey, what about you? Is it I think we know your answer, but are we saving Jupiter Ascending from Oblivion?
I think I think that Kevin's right, that it came out right at the time where they were having a lot of like YA dystopian kind of thrillers and that kind of thing. I think one that we could have been thrown in there was like I Am Number 4.
Oh, I love that movie.
I love that movie.
It's a book series, and it has like 7 books. Did we get a sequel?
No. Teresa Palmer, please come back into our lives, please.
Right. I mean, it's just it's interesting to see kind of the ones that hit and the ones that don't. I really thought this was going to do way better than it did at the box office. Like I said, I saw it probably half a dozen times in the movie theater. And it was because I thought that it was just fascinating viewing. It wasn't, I wasn't like, following like Channing Tatum for anything, or I wasn't singled in on one actor or actress that I was following at the time. I just really enjoyed the story. And I love the Wachowskis. I mean, I loved Speed Racer. I'm one of like the 6 people who liked Speed Racer.
Did that come out in 3D?
It did.
I believe it did. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then of course the first Matrix. But here's the thing. I feel like we could probably send like a couple, like we could probably start like a fan letter situation and get a sequel to this, because we got the fourth Matrix 25 years later. Like, I feel like we could do this. I feel like we could get a sequel at some point. I really, really, really want. I'm not giving up on
it. It doesn't have wheels like the Matrix did. Nice. It doesn't have the nostalgia that the Matrix did. I would love it too.
Well,
Lazy,
I mean,
that's not happening.
About it though, like it's got some pretty heavy hitters,
and it doesn't have Keanu Reeves in it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's fair, but it could. Like, we don't know. There could be a cousin. Keanu Reeves could be a cousin, and a Braxton cousin.
Well,
but yeah, I definitely would save this from Oblivion. Is the answer?
What would you say, Kyle? You saving it?
So, this movie is kind of it's definitely a mixed bag for me, because I was very excited for this because I love the Wachowskis. I actually went with my cousin, who is just to this day loves anything the Wachowskis have ever done. I came out of this movie going, what did I just watch? Because on one
recently or originally?
Originally,
okay.
So originally, because on one hand, this was one of the most visually stunning things I had seen on screen to that point, and it still is. This movie is gorgeous with the effects, the costuming, everything about this movie is visually should be an example of what Hollywood is capable of. I was excited coming in because I knew that there originally was supposed to be a trilogy, and it didn't really come out till after the movie had already come out that they had cut it down to one film. And I think that threw a lot of people, and that's why this movie is a mess. Now, I also have my personal feeling on this film is that the Wachowskis went wild with this film. It's like, we're going to put in references to every movie we love. I mean, there's things from you go from Wizard of Oz to, it feels like there's stuff out of Harry Potter. You've got things from the Matrix, and just so many different things they pulled from, obviously, besides the hero's journey story. And it's too much. And I think, Kevin, you talked about a little, as amazing as the visuals are, sometimes they are too much because your eyes are just bouncing everywhere, and it becomes hard to follow that. On top of it,
imagine watching it in 3D too.
Oh, the whole war, what do they call them? Warhammer scene where they're flying to save her from the wedding.
Yeah.
In 3D, I remember I saw this in 3D at the theater, and I was like, okay, my eyes hurt after that particular scene. There's so many good ideas and concepts in this film, and they didn't get to execute them to their full and proper potential. And I think Jupiter's Ascending is kind of one of those big what if movies that got, if it would have gotten what it was supposed to be, we probably don't even have it in this segment.
Lacey, I can't tell where Kyle's going to go with this. Where do you think he's going?
I gotta keep you guessing here. I gotta keep you guessing.
I feel like
You're doing a good job, Kyle, because right now I'm on the fence of your decision.
I feel like if it didn't have the genetic splicing, I feel like it would have been more palatable for Kyle.
Well, no, actually, the genetic splicing,
like too much. Is that the?
No, I actually think the genetic splicing was one of the cooler concepts of this film.
Okay.
Like I said, this movie had great, amazing concepts. The problem with this movie is it jumps all over the place so quickly that by the time you're just starting to figure out,
you gotta hold on.
You let me speak, Miss Adderhold. It jumps so fast, and you add in the overwhelming of the amazing visuals. It is hard to follow for the average moviegoer. And I think that's why it's fallen into oblivion. But I think when you go back and look at it now, especially when you can watch it on home video and pause it and things like that. Yeah, I'm torturing Kevin right now.
Come on, Kyle.
I do think this movie should be saved from oblivion because I think
there we go.
The visual sides of this and its place in movie history is worth it. And I think people should see this film. If people come out of it saying, what the hell did I just see? All the more power to them. I think they have every right to feel that way. But this film should be seen because it is just on the visuals alone and the costuming alone, this is a Hollywood history type film. So
I think there's some good characters in this movie too.
Yeah, well, like I said,
fascinating to watch.
There's great characters and concepts. It's just the film did not get to be executed in the way it should have been executed. And that,
by the way, the scene that I forgot to mention was like, and it was mentioned in the trivia, was like their version of DMV. I thought it was very funny.
So
sorry.
I think with that, we have saved Jupiter Ascending from oblivion. So good work, guys. I'm proud of you all.
There's right now there's only one movie that we haven't saved. Yeah.
Well, I two because we didn't save Driven.
Oh, I forgot about Driven.
And of course the Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't say I will say that if I had been on Driven, I would have voted to save Driven.
Oh, geez.
I do love Driven. It's ridiculous, and
I would have liked to have saved Stella Warren from that, but not the movie.
Well, guys, that is going to wrap up our Fandom Oblivion. But before we get out of here, too, we got a few quick things to review. So, ladies and gentlemen, buy it, stream it, or unsee it. That's right. It's once again for a little buy it, stream it, or unsee it. You know, if you really like it, you're going to buy it. Maybe you liked it, but I'm good with just being able to stream it when I can or unsee it. We'll just reflect the Union Federation Section 31 episode, and you'll understand everything about unsee it. But guys, we love doing our reviews around here. But ladies and gentlemen, spoiler warnings. We're going to be talking about a couple films that have just recently come out, whether it's on streaming or in the theater. And you know what? Spoilers ahead. So you have been warned. But before we go any further, we got to talk about our friends at Letterboxd, because it is a new year and a new movie watching list. And Kevin, you have some competition this year.
Oh yeah, Lacey's I can tell Lacey's like gonna just cream me, because if you had taken your score last year and actually like logged them in, you would have beat me.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you know what? The thing is, last year I did a lot of TV. I did a lot of
Me too. Yeah.
This year I've only done a couple of 3 or 4 seasons of TV so far. So I feel like my numbers are going to be high at the beginning, because I usually get into TV in the mid like July, August scenario of things.
Yeah, I just started my Stargate rewatch. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And you were going to do Miami Vice, is that right?
I was thinking about doing Miami Vice. I was also thinking about doing Kate and Allie.
Oh, okay.
Remember the old school Kate and Allie? Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Sorry,
we need the numbers. Where are the numbers at right now, Lacey? I'm going to put you first. Where are you at on your Letterboxd number for 2025?
I am at 90.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is in week 1 of February, and we are at 90.
I did 77 in January, and I've done the rest and then I've watched
I'm currently at 79.
See, I'm not blowing you out of the water. That's not.
Yeah, you are.
That's not.
I need more disposable free time. That's just obvious. But guys,
free time and sleep time. We're giving up the sleep, man.
Yeah. Guys, let's get into it. And Lacey, we're going to kick things off with some things you've seen, including this next Netflix show, which has one of my all-time crushes in it, Miss Kristen Bell. But I have heard several things about the show. Kristen Bell and Adam Brody.
I did review this, by the way, several months ago when I saw it.
Yeah. So give us your quick thoughts on Nobody Wants This, Lacey. And I'm going to give a quick rundown. An agnostic sex podcaster and a newly single rabbi fall in love, discovering if their relationship survived their wildly different lives and meddling families. Okay, Lacey.
Yes.
Hit us. What did you think?
So I love the cast. Adam Brody is delightful. If you don't recognize him, he played Seth Cohen on the OC. He's the Shazam version of Freddy in Shazam. He was in Gilmore Girls, which is where I first saw him. He played Dave Rogowski. Love him so much. Kristen Bell, she's in all the things. This is made by the same people who did The Good Place. Hilarious, amazing, awesome. The person that I think is kind of like the little scene stealer is Timothy Simons. He plays the older brother of Adam Brody, and he is absolutely hilarious with his little knits and picks, and it's just hilarious.
His wife is hilarious too.
Right? I mean, it's so funny. It's fun because it talks about all the things that you're not supposed to talk about, right? She's an atheist who has a sex podcast about dating and sex life with her sister, and he is a rabbi. And let's talk about all the things you can't talk about during dinner, right? These are all the things you can't talk about during family dinner. Absolutely hilarious. I loved it. It was 10 episodes. I think they were like 22 minutes a piece. I was working on building the Millennium Falcon with my Legos, and we binged the whole series in one sitting. So it was fantastic. Loved it. It would be a buy if it is available to buy.
Gotcha.
But completely agree with everything that Lacey just said. I watched it when my wife said that her friend turned her onto it and so I watched it by myself when it first came out, and she's like, just give it a shot. And then marathoning the whole damn thing. And then when she came over, we watched it again together.
Nice.
All the way through. The chemistry between Brody and Bell are fantastic, and he's known as the hot rabbi for a reason.
Yes.
They were absolutely magical on screen, and I highly recommend it, and I would buy it too. And hopefully there's a season 2.
Yeah.
Yes, it's already been renewed for season 2, and I think they did a 2-season. I think they did for season 2 and 3.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, next up, you continue the streaming look with the Glenn Powell film Hitman, and Kevin, I believe you also reviewed this earlier as well.
Yep.
Oh, have you? Did you? Okay, cool.
No.
I dug this. It was interesting. It was not what I expected it to be. This is one of the ones where the trailer is completely opposite of exactly what you get in the film. The trailer made it look like, comedy, kind of dark comedy or whatever. This was not a dark comedy. It was a cop thriller, day in the life kind of deal. It was enjoyable. Not what I expected. I think this is a stream it for me. I don't know that I would buy it. I love the fact that it was based on a true story. Like the guy at the very end, it shows like all the pictures of his undercover ops, like all of his outfits and stuff, which is kind of cool. But I don't know. I think that I think this is probably a stream it for me.
I would agree with you on that. Yeah.
I might stream it again if someone else is around and they want to see it. I wouldn't say no to watching it again, but I don't know that unless I saw that there was some really good commentary or really good special features. I think that would be the defining factor.
It's called Hitman because he's part of the police department and he portrays a hitman.
Yeah, he's an
to capture people trying to pay a hitman to kill someone. So yeah,
yes, he is. He runs a sting operation for people trying to hire a hitman. Yeah.
Well, Lacey, we're gonna wrap up your Netflix trilogy this week with Lonely Planet. At a retreat in Morocco, a woman meets a young man whose acquaintanceship evolves into an intoxicating, life-altering love affair, starring the man who I think has blackmail on Netflix, Liam Hemsworth. Because I
had not heard of this film,
and also Laura Dern. But tell us about it, Lacey.
Okay, so you look at the photo of it, and it looks like it's going to be like a romantic comedy kind of deal. And you read the little blurb, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is going to be like a romantic comedy. No, it's not. It is a straight up romance. It's a drama romance, and that's not usually my style. It was well done. I struggled to see Hemsworth as an adult. I don't know why. Like, to me, he's still like the kid from the Hunger Games, and even with the beard, especially because there's a big age difference between him and Laura Dern, and at one point she calls him a kid. So I feel like I kind of still struggle with seeing him as an adult actor. That's on me. That's not on him. I'm sure. I mean, whatever. This is probably. It's a stream it. I don't know that it's not my favorite. It was long on drama, and like there was some some pretty hot sex scenes or whatever, but that's not, it just didn't really. I want my comedy. If I'm going to watch drama, I have like the real world, you know what I mean? I want comedy or I want action or sci-fi, and this didn't hit my particular buttons. So this is, it's not an unsee it. It was beautifully shot, but it did have some very odd camera moves in certain spots, which made me go, okay, that was what? Okay, that happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had not heard of this film. I did not know this existed.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a cougar romance, right? But it's not like it's one of those that sounds like it's. See, that's the thing. It sounds like a comedy because, so it's one of those things like, recently there have been several of these, right? You've got Nicole Kidman doing Baby Girl. You've got Laura Dern here. Then you've got, what's the Zac Efron one where, was that Nicole Kidman as well? I think that
was the one where he's the right? Pop star. And
exactly.
He's
so
involved
there's
with her,
been a few where you've got like and then there was the one with, I don't know. There's like 4 or 5 of them out right now where it's the older woman and the younger man, and they're like traveling somewhere or whatever. Yeah. And so,
gotcha.
But this is the only one that's been like a drama.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, so a low level stream it, not high in priority on streaming.
Right.
But Kevin, you went to the movies.
Oh.
The other day and saw one of the big movies coming out this weekend that has been having a lot of buzz for a while. Kevin, is it true love hurts?
Yeah, so I went to go see the new release of Ke Kwan's action movie Love Hurts, co-starring Ariana DeBose. But also, I just want to say, playing one of the Hitman heavies is Marshawn the Beast Mode Lynch, which he actually goes by in the film. That's when they show his name in the credits. That's the way he goes by. And for those of you that don't know, Marshawn Lynch is a Super Bowl winner with the Seahawks, and he also grew up a Raiders fan, and he ended up playing for the Raiders when he finally ended out his career. And I just want to say real quick, he was actually really good in this film, Kyle. He did his acting was not bad.
That doesn't surprise me. He's got a very unique personality. You see it when he does stuff for the NFL Network during the NFL season. So that doesn't surprise me. But Kevin, obviously the big draw of this is, of course, Key being in this movie as he's having this huge career resurgence thanks to Everything Everywhere All at Once. And of course, Kevin too, we're both huge fans of Nobody, and all three of us are huge fans of Nobody and Violent Night. So I mean, this is right up our alley as far as I'm concerned.
Lacey?
I saw it too.
Okay. Well, you'll go next.
No, I just wanted to say that. I'm very excited. Yeah. Okay,
cool. Yeah. So, this was done by the people that did Nobody and stuff like that. So, in 87 productions, whatever, ties to kind of like the John Wick family as well, and Chad Stahelski and stuff like that. A production company that does a lot of stunts and stuff like that. What's kind of interesting was my friend Andy Sloan commented on this, and he kind of summed up the way that I kind of feel about this. Was, first of all, good running time, 1 hour and 27 minutes. And he plays a former, he formerly worked for his brother, who is basically I guess you could say a gangster. And he was the enforcer. You know, he killed people and beat people up, and he was supposed to kill this woman, and he didn't because he fell for her. And then he disappeared and changed his life and became a realtor. His past catches up with him, of course, and there's a lot of fighting and fun action. But what I was getting to with my comment, my friend Andy Sloan's comment, he says, I got some Jackie Chan vibes from him in this film. And I'm like, yes, exactly. The reason why is because, first of all, Ke Huy Quan went into learning about, was it Aikido or whatever it was, while he was a young kid doing Indiana Jones 2, and he kept up with it. And then he got into behind the scenes stuff. He got into stunt work, and he's worked on a lot of stunt movies as a stunt coordinator and a stunt man. And he's brought this, of course, we saw this in Everything Everywhere at Once, which he won an Oscar for. Everyone that was in that movie won an Oscar, which was great. And so we get to see him kicking some major ass in this. But the comparison to Jackie Chan is, how Jackie Chan fights with a little bit of humor, using a lot of stuff around the house as weapons and improvising and stuff like that. I got that vibe from him in this and thoroughly enjoyed it. We also get a little reunion with his Goonie vibes with Sean Astin, who plays his mentor in the realty company. And there were some very funny characters in this movie. Even the bad guys were entertaining and funny. So it's kind of an action comedy, I guess. And for me, it's definitely a buy it. I recommend it. And I loved the running time on this. Lacey, what is your take on Love Hurts?
I loved it. Everything you said, absolutely. Yes. Agree. I think that a standout for me was Leo Tipton. She played Ashley, the secretary, or his like second in command at the realtor office. You would recognize her from
Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love and Warm Bodies and Two Night Stand. She's been in a bunch of stuff, but this is like, she was a real, like, I loved her character in this.
Yeah.
And there's like you mentioned, Marshawn, I don't even know which
Marshawn Lynch.
But I will say, I think the found object fighting is really definitely a big piece of this, but I love the fact that it was not just the found objects that they were dealing with, but the camera was also used as in these fights. Like at one point, it was
almost like it was in a character in the film,
right? It was like they had a character, like at one point they go through a microwave and it's
Yep.
And it's in the camera's in the microwave, like going in a circle, and you don't even see what's going on. You just hear it in the background. It's hilarious. There's a 16 Candles nod. There's an Indiana Jones 4 nod. There's so many fun little nod. I would say this qualifies for an instant potato, an instant
Okay.
potato.
So, it's funny you bring that up, Lacey, because I was thinking about us while I was watching this, because this movie takes place at Valentine's Day.
Yep.
So it is, and that's why you see all the candy hearts, and you see a big candy heart with Love Hurts, a bloody version of it, So
Yep.
it is a Valentine's Day movie, which is fun.
Yep. And he talks about it. The opening sentence voiceover talks about Valentine's Day, and the closing sentence is also about Valentine's Day. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I definitely dig this. I think that
I want to see a crossover of Love Hurts and Nobody and make them be in the same world. They could be.
I can see that. It has the feeling of like what would have happened in Long Kiss Goodnight if Charlie Baltimore had just disappeared on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, the question is that would that movie be entitled Love Hurts Nobody?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So from everything we got, this is a buy it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The last part of buy it, stream it, or see it, I do begrudgingly, but I do it.
Whoa! What kind of intro is that, Kyle?
Well, will you let me finish, Mr. Reitzel?
Begrudgingly.
I do it begrudgingly, but because it is the Valentine's Day spirit, and I love my co-hosts. It's Hallmark movie time.
Yay!
An unexpected Valentine with the
I'd
Queen
like
of
to call
Hallmark
out
movies.
my co-host of Culture Class here, by the way. I posted this in our private chat, and none of you guys replied to it at all.
I couldn't. I hadn't seen it yet.
You didn't give it a thumbs up or a like. You just like nothing.
Okay,
You ignored it completely.
You love this because it's got Lacey Chabert. I'm excited because it's got Robert Buckley. He's one of my favorites. I love Robert Buckley. He's been in a ton of fun stuff.
Well, hold on. Let's actually say what the movie is for those that are listening.
I'm letting you do that. It's your movie.
A new Hallmark movie to celebrate Valentine's Day. It's called An Unexpected Valentine. Of course, Lacey Chabert is the lead in this as well.
And Robert Buckley.
What? Say his name again?
His name's Robert Buckley from One Tree Hill and iZombie.
Gotcha. I was wondering where his face looked familiar. So yeah. So as you know, I will watch any of these films that have Lacey Chabert, and I know Kyle would if he could. And being a self-admitted man who has subscribed to Hallmark Plus, they showcased it on there. And I just want to say the concept I thought was really, really cute. Okay. He basically plays an Uber driver. They don't call it Uber in this, and it's a shared ride situation. And she is showcasing chocolates that are going to do this promotion that she's doing. He's got this promotion going on the same night with his photography. It's not quite taken off. So he's doing the Uber stuff, and she share rides with him. And she's the last one to be let off, and they find an engagement ring in his car, and they don't know who it belongs to. Was it the couple that just got off before her? And so they have this whole adventure going on all through the night, trying to figure out who it was, follow their footsteps. It's very sweet. They eventually finally get to it, and they both have really good openings at their events and stuff like that. I like the concept. I've seen a lot of different versions of the love stories. You know what's going to happen, but you want to see what happens between point A and point B. And this was kind of a refreshing little story about the Uber drive thing while they're driving around in New York City, making all these stops, and they get pulled over, and then a cop helps out. And so it was very, very sweet. I highly recommend it. Definitely a good stream it.
Lacey? Can't hear you.
I saw it before you. I haven't seen it yet. It's my next thing to watch. I'm actually going to watch it tonight before I head back upstairs. Yeah.
Do you have Hallmark Plus, or is it another way you're watching?
It's also playing on YouTube TV.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, there we go. That is going to wrap up this edition of Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It. And you have been watching Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And of course, we love the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe. And,
Happy
share us out
Valentine's
there.
Day coming up.
And then, and then happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Again, we will have a very special Valentine's Couch Potato Theater coming out Valentine's Day. It might involve saw blades. Just saying, Yeah, just we might be going commando on Valentine's Day.
Achoo! Sorry.
There you go. Of course, and you can find the Fandom Podcast Network all over all the major social medias, and most recently Blue Sky. Kevin, where on Blue Sky can people find us?
At FanPod Network, just like on X, we're at FanPod Network, and on Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network.
And of course, if you're looking for the gear of the Fandom Podcast Network, TeePublic, go to TeePublic, search for the Fandom Podcast Network. We got all kinds of goodies up there representing all of our shows, including T-shirts, mugs, hats, tapestries, pillows, phone cases, laptop cases. All the good stuff is over there at TeePublic. And yeah, they help us out. They give us a little kickback so we can keep the dilithium chamber going here at the Fandom Podcast Network. Those crystals are not cheap, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying. But we always have a lot of fun around here. And speaking of fun, next episode, we are closing out our year of time travel. Yeah, it went over into the next year, but we got another good one to talk about. Kevin, I feel like a sense of deja vu is coming along.
I see what you did there, Kyle. Yes, we are covering the 2006 Denzel Washington, Tony Scott directed movie Deja Vu, co-starring, of course, Val Kilmer, Paula Patton, Bruce Greenwood, Adam Goldberg, and Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, quite the cast for that one. And of course, we have been covering Jupiter Ascending here on Culture Clash.
We saved it from Oblivion. It's saved.
We saved it from Oblivion. And before we get out of here real quick, too, where can we save you guys on your social medias? Kevin?
You can find me at Spartan_Phoenix on all the socials, including Blue Sky, which is Spartan Phoenix.
Lacey, where can people find you on the socials?
You can find me on Blue Sky, and I'm doing Blue Sky, I'm doing Letterboxd, I'm doing Discord. I've canceled all the other ones. I'm done with all the. I can't watch the politics anymore. It's too much. I'm getting out of all that. I'm doing Blue Sky, Discord, Letterboxd. Those are my.
No Instagram.
Nope, can't deal with that guy.
All right.
You can find me all over the place. Of course, on Facebook, Kyle Wagner. Also, all the Great Fandom Podcast Network pages. Visit any of those and see what's going on there. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW. And you can find me on Instagram at Threads at AKyleFandom. And of course, too, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network on all your social media feeds and all your podcast feeds as well, especially our homepage, fpnet.podbean.com. But with that, guys, we have managed to save another movie from Oblivion. I'm proud of you two. We do good work on that here.
Lacey, do you think you'll ever give in to actually talking about Tom Cruise's Oblivion and see if we can save that from Oblivion? What do you think?
I've got it. It's great. I dig it.
I got it in 4K, but Kyle's just like whatever.
You can't save Oblivion from Oblivion. Come on.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
It's a rule of science. If Haley was here, she'd be backing me.
Your reasons suck.
Okay, guys, with that, we are out of here. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. Have a great and wonderful time. And we will be back in 2 weeks to cover Deja Vu. Until then, as always around here, be excellent to each other. And most importantly, enjoy your fandom. We have done this thing and we are out of here. Thank you, everybody.